what's the difference between a controller and a CFO?
And you hear all the time people say, should I hire a CFO or should I hire a controller? Well, in a traditional sense, I really don't see any company less than $50 million hiring a CFO, but things have changed. I think in today, most people, when they say CFO for small businesses, they're thinking strategy, right? People that can come in and really, tell them about strategy, tell them about where's the company today, where are we going to go, and then sort of planning, forecasting, a lot of the strategic stuff from the financial point of view. So in my mind, what I would say a CFO is today in that context is, if you're a CFO, I expect you to be the liaison between my accounting department and my production department, operation department, and my sales and marketing department, and pull all of the numbers in and then make sense of it and then drop it back out, right? And then communicating that with the CEO. So the way I see it is that, let me rephrase that. A CFO really is a liaison between the numbers people, accounting and finance team, and the rest of the company and the rest of the management team. Okay, so whatever the CEO's strategy vision is, whatever the COO's vision is, or the CMO's, whatever their strategy and their plan for their department is, those all get converted into numbers. They all eventually ended up on your financial statement, right, as your financial result. Because in the end, your marketing operation, your production, all of that flows into your financials, onto your P&L and onto your balance sheet, right? So a CFO's job is to make sense of that and then communicate that with management, right? They get that information on the financial statement, they make sense of it, okay? And then they drop this back out in the form of initiatives, projects, and things that we're going to do to make it better, right? They're really the liaison. Now, they may or may not know how to run a set of books, but they certainly need to understand it, okay? Because at the end of the day, they're the liaison. Now, a controller, I will place them more in the accounting department. I would almost say they're the head of the accounting department, if you will. So a controller certainly have to know accounting, right? Debits and credit. They probably came up through the ranks of, accounts payable, accounts receivable, GL, senior accountant, and all of that. And then eventually they become a controller. So they certainly know how things work, the inner workings of your accounting department and your finance department, okay? But their job really is to, in my mind, do reporting and make sense of these information. So your accounts payable can be paying all the bills, accounts receivable can be doing all the collecting, and your bookkeepers and your accountants and your general ledger people are putting all this information into your accounting software, Xero, QuickBooks, whatever it is. And then you have all the data in there. The controller's job is to tell stories with it. Let me look at the numbers. Let me try to spot some trend. Let me do some forecasting. Let me do special reporting. Let me do some segmentation analysis study. They should be, they should know how to do all of that, right? Now people go, wait, isn't that what the CFO is doing? Well, if you think about it, there's always the saying of doing things right and doing the right thing, right? I almost would like to think the CFO will tell the controller what they need to know, right? Like, what are the things that they should be looking at? And yeah, great. Some great controller might be able to step up to that level, but I'm really counting on the controller to have the ability to do that. So when I say, hey, you know what? I need to do a 24-month cash forecast, and I need to, focus on our loss leader revenue, right? A controller should be able to be like, yeah, I got it. I can, spit that information out to you, right? Whereas, a CFO would have to be the one that come up with that, right? The CFO is the one that asks the hard question, both to the controller and the accounting team, and then onto the other end to the CEO and the rest of the management team, the COO and the CMO. So I think that's the two distinguishment. Again, it's very different from business to business, from people to people, but I always like to say, focus on what is it that you need, right? What is it that you want the person to do for you? Because at the end of the day, you never want, I always get really worried about this. You never want someone claiming as a CFO doing your accounting work. Because essentially, it's like, why would you pay someone $100,000 to do something that someone with $50,000 can do, right? So the issue with so many small businesses is that they don't have that clear understanding. And in the past, they didn't have the option of hiring an entire team. But today you do, through outsourcing and through part-time CFO, part-time controller, and all these services. And that's the benefit of it, because you never want to do is you never want to have someone who's so experienced, like on the CFO spectrum, to be working down the value chain, right? Because then you're paying too much. And you would never want someone who is not qualified, like a bookkeeper or an accountant or a controller, trying to step up to that strategic level, because they will never get the job done. Sure, you might feel like you're paying cheaper, but what's the point of cheaper if the job is not done? Right? I always say this, $500 is expensive if it's not doing what you want it to do. Right? So it's having that understanding of, the anatomy of your accounting department, who all these people are and all these job functions are, and why you need all of them or a portion of all of them. Now remember guys, these are the tips that we talked about in our financial management for CEO class, which you can learn more about by clicking on the link below. Now, until next time, I hope you're knowing your numbers and you're living your dream.